at 1,756. Is it 56? Oh, let me look. Looks like we're on. Let's see if you can hear me. Okay. Let's see if you can hear me. There you go. Okay. All right. Everything is working. So, real quick, we are at day 1,757 days since Richard was removed from the barracks. Now we have witnesses that said Richard was forcibly removed from the barracks. And of course, we have the Department of State corroborating and designating Richard as killed in the line of duty. So for years, there was a cover up going on because absolutely, I can tell you that we absolutely knew that there was a cover up going on back in 2020 when we got to El Paso. We knew there was. It was just, I called it insanity the way they were handling the case and not notifying us and kicking Richard out of any kind of jurisdiction, taking him off the rolls, and then us having to work very, very hard to get him back on the rolls. And then when he was on the rolls, it was very controlled, and they started the smear campaign against him. That was absolutely a false, fake smear. Nothing made sense. And why would you even want to do something like that when you're trying to look for a missing soldier, right? It just, so we knew it was foul play. We knew that Richard had been murdered. And, but it takes a lot of, um, of patience to just observe and try to figure things out, figure things out because, if you shoot from the hip, if you act rash, and, I did yell at General Garrett. I did yell at him on the phone. I did yell at Marlon Soto constantly. And then, once you figure out that they're up to no good, then I guess you need to, well, we decided we needed to just move forward and just really do what was right, and let God handle it all. And he has. God's hand has been on this whole thing. And why am I talking about this? Because Memorial Day is fast approaching, and we've had a lot of people reach out to us um, to display here in this area. And, it's, yeah, it's been very, very moving. And because of that, I guess some people are becoming very patriotic. And this LSA Bravo, um, people give us leads. And so if you know LS Bravo, Fort Bliss, it's an ammunition area. It's restricted area. And so any kind of information would be appreciated. We need corroborating information for that area, for this lead that we received. So, so if you know anything about it and you could corroborate that it belonged to or was used by 14380A, that would be, really helpful to add on to the evidence that we have a robust mountain of evidence, right? So, and of course, it's just been woke up to a glorious day, to this big, beautiful bill being passed. I was thinking it would take longer, but no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, no tax on American made, bought uh, car loan interests, uh, payments. So if you buy an American made car and you have to get a loan to buy it, the interest payments on that vehicle are tax free. That's huge. The tax rates from President Trump's previous administration is now continued, is carried on. That is, uh, you know, very positive. Um, for a lot of retirees, no tax on Social Security is going to be very positive. Uh, is there negatives? Is there negatives? Of course, we have this huge debt, $37 trillion in debt. We've had negatives for a long time, right? We've had so many negatives, right? Decades of negatives. So to have a little bit of positive mixed in with the negatives is kind of refreshing. It's kind of refreshing. So we'll see, especially um, with the American Made agenda, with the tariffs money, the gold card money that's going to come in. And is this important to Richard's case? 100%. Because, a country that is in debt, when people are in debt, when people have a lot of credit card debt, um, and I know Command Sergeant Major, he had a lot of things that he had to pay. So he told us, um, and when you have that kind of stress on you, then then you can be compromised. You can absolutely be compromised. You can absolutely go to the dark side, to the CCP stringed cartel, criminal trafficking side, right? And commit treason and become a traitor, and it gets very, very, very messy and very, very evil when you are compromising your own soldiers, your own service members. You have to compromise them to restrain any kind of good character. You don't want to have esprit de corps and the Medal of Honor ethos and see something, say something, whistleblower. You don't want to have those kinds of soldiers when you are compromised, right? When you are engaged in major, major crimes that really amount to treason, um, aiding and abetting a foreign enemy, um, and doing harm, breaching security. And so you breach even more security, even in the barracks, and you put people's lives at danger. And so many of these leaders, uh, absolutely, it's confirmed that they were engaging in activities that were not in the best interest of defending the Constitution, not in the best interest of our country. That they were absolutely going to the dark side where so many people get hurt and so many children get hurt, and then you see hundreds of thousands of children being trafficked and now are mostly dead, and it's 10,000 at a time. They went turbo force in March of 2021 with the emergency intake center there on Fort Bliss. 10,000 beds, 10,000 children at a time that they could traffic. And it's really satanic. It's very, very evil. And that's why debt, that's why the economy is so important. That's why laws are so important. That's why SOPs are so important. That's why discipline and character is so important because that keeps you from compromising yourself, right? When you build up your character, when you um, have a love for the rule of law, that's why patriotism is so important. When you have a love for your country, for your countrymen, for your family, for the future, um, then you develop a very strong character that even if you're poor, even if you're in debt, you cannot be compromised. But Richard had Bitcoin. Richard, um, was absolutely taught to not get into debt, to not have this, even though his credit cards ended up in cartel, well, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia's family's hands, right? So it is really uh what happened to the Bitcoin. There's no transparency, just like in the Walmart mass shooting case. That's what they have in common, and this is not common for other cases. Okay, this is for Richard's case. This is for the Walmart mass shooting case. There is a lack of transparency, and you see that with um the Las Cruces shooting recently, where, within a couple of days, within hours, they were releasing evidence. And body cam footage. And we don't have that, right? We don't have that in either Richard's case or the Walmart mass shooting case because they're tied together and they're tied to the Miaellas, are tied to the Miaellas, to the DA's office, to the FBI's office, to the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. They absolutely are tied. Are it absolutely corroborates and confirms that this was um, an institutional crime. Okay, an institutional crime inside. So, and we said that at the beginning too, and people really were upset with us because I would talk about the 44 four-star generals. Why do we need 44 four-star generals when in World War II we only had seven and we had 10 times more service members at that time than now, and here now we're so top heavy. I would talk about the corruption that we were seeing, and people were not happy about that. But you know what? I don't get that kind of pushback. We have millions and millions of views now, and they're brutal against. I get is showing their disappointment for our traders that are our leaders, and I think this is why Congress quickly, faster than a lot of people, most everybody that I talk to pass this bill, this big beautiful bill, and we'll see what happens. Um, it's going. Uh, it's just so nice to have some positive aspects because we haven't had a budget pass, in years and years. And that is absolutely insane. That's illegal, right? We're supposed to have a budget. But yeah, so, and it makes all the difference when we're prosperous, we have opportunities, we have confidence in the future, then we will protect our country, then we will protect the rule of law, then we will be willing to be whistleblowers and grow our character, right? And so it really is, it all kind of melds together. Because do we want to tolerate criminal trafficking when we can um do something that makes the world a better place, right? And be prosperous with that. So, and I hope that makes sense because it's never so clean cut where humankind, just absolutely is born with goodness. We're not born with goodness. We need to be trained to walk in the way of the Lord, right? We need to be trained um, because it just doesn't, we're fallen, Um, and so, we need to have those mentors. We need to have good leaders. It's very, very, very important. Um, so that was a very positive thing today. Also, the confirmation that the Yvonne Rosales, District Attorney Yvonne Rosales administration had detected that the Jaime Esparza administration left her a Walmart case that was a mess, that had multiple files that were tampered with, deleted, missing. Say what you want. That they had detected a real tampering in the files and in the evidence, multiple files in the Walmart mass shooting. And that happened under Jaime Esparza, who, guess who was working for Jaime Esparza as, a trained hacker, as a cybersecurity technician. And that was Michael G. Miaella, the brother-in-law of Patrick Crusius, right? So the very institution that was prosecuting Patrick Crusius, prosecuting that case, investigating and prosecuting that case, is, has the brother-in-law in there. And the same thing with the FBI, the very institution that was investigating the Walmart mass shooting, had given Michael G. Miaella a job, internship, and access to files. And, he's a trained hacker and a cybersecurity um, technician. So, and then, we can't stop there because he worked for Walmart cybersecurity. And, um, so, and Bob Moore didn't want to cover that. Bob Moore knew that on the 29th of July, the same time period that Richard lost his life. Um, and they were reporting in 2020 that, about Patrick Crusius's brother, the nice brother, not no racism there in that family because he married um, Alexis Miaella, whose mother is Hispanic, right? So, the whole thing is a fake narrative. The real narrative is, a diversion, obstruction of ongoing investigations into those institutions at the time, right? Those institutions, including Fort Bliss. And we know that District Attorney Yvonne Rosales' administration was investigating El Paso Community Foundation, the parent company for El Paso Matters, um, for the illegally or the fraudulent distribution of Walmart victims funds to unqualified individuals. And those funds, they surpassed $12 million. It was a lot of money. So, this is all coming together, and now we're getting more and more information in how they're connected, how Jake Jakovitz is connected to the Miaellas, how the Harts are connected to the Miaellas, how they're connected to the cartel, how they're connected to the Walmart case, and and how they're connected as prime suspects, right? And the motive behind it to the Fort Bliss witness and whistleblower Richard Halliday's murder. So it's all becoming very, very clear. And I've said for um, a while that time is short. Time is very, very short, and we're not stopping. because it's all happening behind the scenes, and you can see it by the actions of what President Trump is doing right now, what Secretary of Defense Hegseth is doing right now, what the Secretary um, of Justice, or General Bondi, what she's doing right now. And then you see it what the deputy of the FBI, Dan Bongino, what he's doing. Also, Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, and then you have Christina Nome of DHS, right? I think so. And what she's doing. And the big one is Marco Rubio, the State Department, that is really investigating this full force with his Marco list. And Marco Rubio is coming in investigating from the State Department, which is very, very unusual, but it's because of these all the corruption and fraud when it comes to the visas. And, this is something that we'll address or explain more in the future. But the the news that we want to share with you tonight is the positive movement forward of all of this. And it's moving quick compared to the last administration. This administration is like lightning bolt. It is going so fast. And we just want to tell everyone thank you for your tips. Thank you for your insights, your expertise, your sharing. And thank you, Martha, for coming on so late. And thank you, Peg. Prayers. Thank you for the prayers. And yes, it's been, I have to say, going through the pictures and everything, you just get these waves, right? These waves of grief. I just can't even explain it to y'all. Um, they've really put us through hell. They've put us through hell, but I tell myself I'm not allowed to cry. I'm not allowed to, to show emotion. I have to move forward because our there's so many children and so many service members and so many El Pasoans. El Pasoans want their sovereignty back, right? They want their city back. They want their county back. El Paso is a magnificent place, and they want it back. And it's been just so taken advantage of by this foreign cartel, uh, tied strings, not to the Mexicans. Of course, it's the Mexican cartels, but those strings are to the CCP. Okay, the strings are to the Chinese CCP. And you don't have to go very far into Mexico to see that. I mean, even in Panama, the signs were all in Chinese, right? The signs were in Chinese, and President Trump sent Hegseth down there with Secretary of Defense Hegseth um, with Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, to make some changes with that. Absolutely make some changes at the Panama Canal. So it is, moving very, very quick. And, for us, of course, we would like it. We had to be so patient during the whole administration, 4 years, right? So, so, so patient um, through all that insanity. And so now you know, we're getting a lot of feedback, and I just want to bring that message. We cannot give up. We cannot give up, and we need your help. We need your help to share, to like, to comment, to absolutely give your knowledge and your expertise and your witness testimony. And we're very appreciative to the witness testimony that we just got. So any witness testimony, any real insight because of working in some of these agencies, it's very, very appreciative. So thank you so much, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.